Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, all that good stuff, and welcome to another edition of Stranger in a Southern Land. I am your host, Jake Manning. Today on the program is going to be a very quick intro. I don't really have any dates to plug for you right now, and since Tree Monsters Comedy Wednesdays is no longer happening anymore, I don't have a sponsor. If you would like to change that, you most certainly can, and just by a simple email, you can email me at jake@sslshow.com to be a sponsor of this program, and just email me. We'll work something out. We'll make it happen. And if you want to fill out my calendar, especially when it comes to wrestling, you can email me at manscoutmanning@yahoo.com. So it's not too bad that this is going to be a quick intro in a sense, because this is going to be an amazing podcast for you guys. I am extremely excited to bring this podcast to you today. The guest on the podcast today is local celebrity, local legend, the Funky Geezer, Woody Williams. This guy's amazing. I'm going to hope that some of you that click the download button on this know exactly who this is. If you're just, a regular program listener or watcher, you are in for a surprise and a treat. This man is amazing. He's a local talented musician. I saw him perform at the Evening News one night, just in an open mic setting or a featured act setting. And I go, this guy's amazing. He does all kinds of stuff. Like, he'll take like a blues riff and then turn it into like a Snoop Dogg riff out of nowhere. He's just really cool guy. And just looking at him and seeing him perform, I go, this guy's got a story. And I wanted to capture it here on this podcast, and I did. He came over to the house. He came over to the home studio. We sat down. We talked for, I think, just over an hour, or right at about an hour. And we talked about everything. We talked about his life. And, somebody, of his age and of his stature, he's got a lot of wisdom, a lot of thoughts. And I wanted to pick his brain and pull all that out of him. And I got that here on this podcast today. So anybody that is an artist, a creator, or just anybody that wants to live a good life, I highly recommend this podcast to you. You're going to be smiling, you're going to be laughing, and you're going to be enjoying this entire podcast. And it's more of a reason why I wanted to release this around Christmas. Send all the good vibes into the world. And I'm sending them right into your earbuds or on your computer screens or wherever you're watching this or listening this. And I'm very happy to be presenting you this, like on Christmas week or Hanukkah week, whatever holiday you're celebrating right now. If you have a tree up or if you don't have a tree up, you're definitely going to enjoy this podcast. So, or if you're listening to this in the summertime, definitely don't have a tree up that time. Well, not a Christmas tree, that is, but either way, no matter what time of the year, this podcast is so positive, so inspirational. I'm very proud to bring it to you any time of the year. So, also, too, if you guys have any interest in following me on social media, which you should, I hope you do, because a lot of things comes up. There's a lot of opportunities you can see me perform, stand-up comedy, improv, and wrestling. And the way you can find out about that the best, especially last-minute changes to my schedule, are follow me on social media. You can do that. You can follow me on Twitter at ManScoutManning, and on Instagram at ManScoutManning. If you have a question about the podcast, or if you want to become a sponsor of the podcast, make sure you email me at jake@sslshow.com, or if you want to book me for an upcoming wrestling event, make sure you email me at manscoutmanning@yahoo.com. Anyways, enough yapping. I said I'd make this a quick intro. I probably made it a long intro. But without further delay, let's jump into this wonderful podcast with the Funky Geezer here on Stranger in a Southern Land. Anyways, folks, I'm sitting with Woody Williams, a.k.a. the Funky Geezer, local legend Funky Geezer. Woody, thank you so much for coming over to the home studio today.
My pleasure, Jake.
Gotta
give you a
fist pound. With a little back end cool with it.
Yeah, I'm learning from the young ones.
Yeah, you've actually learned quite well, because for a man of your stature, we'll say, which might be a kind way of saying that you're older than me, in the sense that you have more Facebook followers than I do by like 3 times, and I see the posts that you put up. You have a very young soul. I
don't know where that comes from. I took the rearview mirrors off my life So I don't live in the past much. It's now and the future.
Mm-hmm.
And because usually if you stay in the past too much, something's gaining on you. So I don't look in the past too much, so I don't try and do relic much of anything. You know, I think one of the problems we have in the world today is tradition. And people are trying to bring tradition with them that they didn't even live.
Mm-hmm.
Think of their grandparents or their great-grandparents' tradition hundreds of years ago, and I said, you weren't even there. Why are you bringing that tradition forward? So I think tradition is one of our major issues worldwide.
Okay, well,
and you can look at that across the board, and that's in all politics and religions and musics and fashions and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to you traditionalists out there,
but you said you don't want to look in the past too much. But let's just take a small little pinky toe
there
into
is
it.
a history.
Okay, let's talk about your history.
The learning
then.
curve section of your life.
Yeah, where have you always lived in the Charlotte area?
Yeah, pretty much. I was in the Army a couple of years, and I moved to the mountains for 5 years. And,
okay. Well,
but other than just some travel, no, I came back here and tried to keep your roots.
okay. Well,
They'd say if you stay in one place one time, everybody knows where to find you. So,
where? So were you born in Charlotte?
yes,
Okay, so
native. So,
what year were you born?
way back in Alton in the other century.
The other century, yeah. But like, I'm curious because Charlotte to me has changed dramatically just in the 10 years that I've lived here.
Okay.
I can only imagine what you've seen and how it's grown. Like, give me a little bit of history of what.
It was a smaller place. It was a much smaller place. Traffic wasn't nearly as bad. We had some highways, but there wasn't even medium dividers in most of them, and scant on red lights. So during my learning to drive years, we could have muscle cars and drag street race and have fun all day, all night. There wasn't that many cops. There wasn't that many red lights, so we had a blast. But now that's almost impossible to have fun on the, go joyriding. That's just, it's an agony. But I think they're trying to sterilize Charlotte with too much what I call generica.
Yeah, gentrification. Like how many condos does this place really need?
Strip malls and condos.
Yeah, just tearing down historical places.
Yeah, Charlotte has so little history left that it's a shame to see them, do away with what little history they do have, and they don't seem to care much about it.
Yeah, so that's the disturbing part about it. I mean, I appreciate the fact that when I go to other cities, it seems a little bit dirtier and grimier, but at the same time too, like you look at places that get revamped.
They have a historical district or something.
Yeah, like you look someplace like the French Quarter, what I'm saying? Something that stood for a long, considerable amount of time. But, I wouldn't consider it dirty or grimy, but it's been updated to an extent.
Yeah.
But when everything's too shiny and new, it bothers me a little.
Sterilized. It's like, where's the mom and pop stores? Where's the front porches with blue-tick hounds on them?
But you talked about racing cars and stuff like that. Was that like a big thing because of NASCAR?
No, it was just the big three Dodge, Chevrolet, Ford come out with muscle cars from 65 to 75, and that was the thing. So everybody had a muscle car. Even Granny had a 383 Roadrunner in her Polara. So everybody's running super horsepower. And gas was abundant. It was cheap. It was 35 cents a gallon, so you could ride all night on $3 worth of gas with a 400 horsepower fire-breathing demon underneath the hood and have a ball. It was good times and fun, but it was just a sport for people who were into that.
Yeah,
you get out of it after a while because it's an expensive sport.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought up a good point because it's something that I might be the last generation that did this, because I grew up in a very rural area. And one thing that we used to do was, just cruise, like just get in a car and drive. And as a teenager, that's a very freeing thing, Yeah, just
absolutely. We had to
just
get
drive
your
around.
Wings. I didn't come home for like 3 years when I got my driver's license. I come back. Oh, did you finally come? I got my wings. I went driving for 3 years.
Yeah, like the kids today don't have that, because gas is ridiculous.
Yeah, they have to get a loan to get gas. And
You're making life decisions at the gas pump.
absolutely. It's ridiculous. And then the streets are so crowded, you have to go to the county just to see if you can peg it once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
I did drive on the Autobahn in Germany when I was in the Army, and there's no speed limit there, so you could really just test your cars to the limit.
Oh yeah, everybody needs. I did that once myself as well when I went to Germany. I think everybody should experience the Autobahn as fast as possible.
Well, you'll see something go by you. It was like yellow, but you don't know what it was.
Yeah.
He's probably doing 210 or something like this. It goes by so fast, and then as you're driving, they have big chain link fences, to keep the deer and the stuff out of the road. But then you'll see a hole in the fence with a red streak going through the trees, and somebody lost it, went through the fence and through the forest, or a blue streak that went through the trees over here. And you say, oh, there was somebody. That's probably 180 when he went through there. But they love it. It's their trademark.
Mm-hmm.
No speed limit highway.
Yeah.
So, I was in some Army trucks, and most they would do would be like 60. We couldn't go fast.
Couldn't really max those out.
So,
But anyways, you talk about the Army. What made you want to join the Army? Was that just
I was drafted. So,
that would have been. Yeah.
So that was what was going on in those days. Get drafted and do your time and come back out and see if you can find your long lost band members if they're still playing. Trying to get the band back together, this kind of thing.
Was music what you were doing before you went in?
Yeah, I was sign painting, and then we were playing in our band here around Charlotte. And it was a lot of fun, and then everybody got drafted and went in a different direction to come back. So I pretty much went solo after that. Tried some other bands, but it didn't float. So I just started writing a lot of songs for radio stations and jingles and things like this.
Well, what was the name of your band before you guys?
It was Fragmentary Blue.
Okay.
A lot of psychedelic music. And
okay.
We were heavy into Hendrix and things like that. So
okay. Would you say you guys were good? Like you had some possibility?
We were just novels.
Yeah, just doing it.
Banging around, seeing what we could get into. The Paragons were out at the same time, and we would meet and play at the same time. Jim Charles, I got up with him not too long ago. But they were the guys in the black hearse. We started growing our hair longer over our ears, and we were getting kicked out of school because back then they had a hair code. And so they were having the same issues. But we were rebellious.
You damn long-haired kids playing your music. Yeah.
So those were the beginnings of it all.
What was it about music that enchanted you?
I started when I was about 5 years old. Saw an electric guitar playing on stage, and I just had to have one. So I bugged my folks for a long time when they finally got the first one. I never did stop playing. I made a promise that I'll practice every day. And I did for 30 years. I never missed a day. So I finally broke my promise at 30 years. And I said, well, after 30 years, and I haven't made a living at it, then I'm going to retire it. So for 10 years I didn't play. But then got back into it and sort of fired up the Funky Geezer. And I said, well, I hate to lose all those years of practice and play and writing. I'd written over 500 songs.
Well, why'd you stop? Like you said, you obviously...
I just stopped playing the guitar. I was getting into electronica as it was coming out in the 80s. So I embraced all the synthesizers and started learning electronica and EDM, and as they call it now. And I started playing electronic shows for resort parties. But it wasn't original songs, it was just dance music. And but that went on for 10 years, and then that 10-year period I didn't play the guitar, and so I lost it. It took me 3 years to just get my fingers back. And I said, well, I'm going to bring up some of my old songs and go hit some open mics, see what's happening out there. So that's where Funky Geezer started.
Well, it's weird you went from just playing acoustic guitar to electronic music.
I'd always embraced every little gadget they come out with. I'd go to the music store. What you got new? What's new on the market? And they'd show me fuzz pedals or this or anything you could play that was electronic, like special effects and pedals and things. And some of them were a lot of fun. And then I got into buying a lot of gear and equipment and buying out studios, and I had so much stuff there. It just had to be. I had so much stuff. So I said, well, I can build a heck of a show. So I did. It made me an electronic show called Jimmy Jam's Show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of a sealed market, because you go to resorts. And that's all I did, was I played at resort parties, like cruise ship and resorts and holiday shows and things.
Mm-hmm.
They pay real good, and they treat you like gold. They'll give you a free cabin and stay all weekend and free food, and you'll play a Saturday and a Friday and a Saturday night show. So that's fine. I just lived at resorts for 10 years.
Well, that's not a bad way to go.
It was a good life.
Yeah, you just producing music so people can dance, and then during the week you're doing whatever.
There'd be 600, 800 people there at their holiday shows, a good crowd. But you weren't in there with other musicians. You weren't loading in, backlining, doing sound check. You just set up at a pool party and play and let it go, or a clubhouse or something.
Yeah, but did you have fun doing that?
Oh, absolutely. I'd probably go back in a flash and do it again, but I just got away from that.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing.
I was going to say, like, did you live it up? Like, did you,
Well, I would plan the shows, and we'd, especially New Year's or July the 4th or Halloween. I'd love them, crazy, spooky holiday things, and we'd have all types of props, blow-up spiders and outfits. And I'd bring costumes, hats, wigs, and masks for what I call the toy box. Because people will dance better if their head's covered up. If they got a mask, a hat, or a wig on, then they'll act like a fool.
Yeah.
So I would encourage them. Here's free mask, free wigs, whatever. Get into it. Let's go. And they would. And so you get to learn how to get people enjoying their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that must have been fun. You were the life of the party. Like, you were
That was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And so you take your glow sticks and your Mardi Gras beads, and you throw them out there. It was sort of just a big party all the time party. So I get along fine with the EDM guys here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
We had sort of a battle of EDM. So at Chop Shop one time, and I took on 3 of the big names of them, but they were digital and I was analog.
Okay.
I said, I'm the ones that created you, young man. I'm the one you're mixing and mashing into your stuff with your pads. Let's see you do it on a synthesizer. Let me see you go live with your analog here. Mm-hmm. We were the first ones to cutting their digital EDM's blueprint for them.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the best one I saw come out and do live shows was Infected Mushroom. I loved their stuff. And they had the laser light shows and fogs, and they could do live EDM with synthesizers. And
when we say EDM, like, what's that?
Electric dance music.
Electric dance music.
And today it's mainly dance music.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all electronic. Now I call them drag and drop or pad guys. They drag and drop in their Mixcraft or whatever program they're working, and just get up there and do it with their mixers and stuff, and pads. They'll add stuff, inserts, and they take other old songs and upgrade them to electronica, and it's a lot of fun. You can go in there and mix and mash and have yourself a blast doing that. But I still see it as drag and drop music. Mm-hmm. So,
not a lot of soul to it. It's not like
they're not putting their spirit in that one finger muscle. That's the strongest muscle in their body. Their mouse finger.
But you're doing dance music and stuff like that. I can only imagine, like, you've probably met some interesting people. Maybe, maybe some interesting women along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's out there. I've done some with Adventure Club and Trumpet Club. They pack them in these days.
Oh, yeah.
With Fillmore and the big theaters here. So I opened for them one time in a packed house. I mean, 800 or 900 people there. And all you can see is hands up like this, so packed like sardines out there on the floor. I said, it's a good crowd, so we got them worked up and taking pictures, and really good beats for going in the laser light shows and the fog. And I said, well, I'm going to crowd surf. I hadn't done that in a long time. Yeah. And so I went out there and I faked it one time, and I ran right to the edge of the stage, and all these hands come up, and I saw X's on their hands. I said, damn, everybody's underage. I said, I want to see tattoos on those hands. I don't want to see no amateurs, so they won't catch me.
Yeah, it might be your first time crowd surfing, but it might be their first time crowd surfing somebody.
I'm not going to jump out with X's on their hands. No. So I opted out of that one. But
that's a good call. That's a heads
for
up
tattoos if you want to get caught, because they're pros. They've caught them before. So.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart advice.
You got to think thoughts.
Yeah, when you're being reckless, you got to be a little bit responsible.
Yeah, you got to be responsible with your recklessness.
But gosh, like you were playing music and writing songs. Like what inspires you to write something, or maybe electronic?
It's the slightest things. You can look at a sunset. You can just hear somebody else playing and say, "Oh," and you run home and you start writing about it. Or one word. Sometimes you'll have one word that'll ignite a whole song. Especially emotions. If you're working from emotions, they'll spill out. You'll get a whole bunch of songs out of one experience that's maybe burnt a little further onto your emotional memory. And and water on the bridge, things you've done in your life that you can remember and say, well, I should write a story, or I should write a song about that event, or this or that. So I see these 16-year-old blues players, and I said, where's the pain and suffering?
Yeah.
You ain't had enough suffering in that soul, boy.
Yeah, you really, that type of music, you really need to be coming something from down in your heart.
You got to hurt and drag it up, and that's your therapy, is your guitar, your music. It gets it out of you. So you can fire your therapist if you play guitar and write songs. Because that's I always call my guitar my secret friend, because I told it all my secrets. So
it's probably pretty similar to when I just started doing stand-up comedy, and it started doing it at a very tumultuous point in my life. And the way you describe writing a song is very much similar to when I write a bit. And sometimes you get a little bit off base. Unfortunately, in comedy, you can get off base and you can tell a bit that you think is funny.
It's depressing to
yes. And if it turns
try not to depress them, but I have these post-up, or what you call them, suicide notes in case I do. These are pre-written, just in case you guys want to go commit suicide. You don't have to write your own here.
But at least, in music, you can write kind of a depressing song.
I didn't do that at first with Funky Geezer. I would just go do upbeat comedy or fast or lighthearted music. And because I had a lot of love ballads and moody and depressing songs. But you got to have the roller coaster. You don't have your mountains without your valleys. So I did one ballad one night, a love song, and the front row was crying out there. Well, the owner of the venue wanted me to put me in the studio and get a copy of that so he could give it to his wife for her birthday. That was such a sad song. And I didn't know, people wanted sad songs, but some other guy was at Brain. He said, people will dance and love to see your shows and come out and enjoy and rejoice with you if you give good, happy, upbeat music. But they'll buy your CD if you make them cry. And I got to thinking about that. I said, maybe I should include some moody songs. So I try and get them in there. About every third song, I'll bottom them out and give them a valley song. So
because they want that emotional experience.
Give them the roller coaster ride.
You want that feeling, like it just, something genuine.
That's it. It's something that's real, and they want to touch your soul, too. They can tell if it's all BS or if there's some real person on stage. So.
Yeah, because I think that's the one thing that, because entertainment, music, movies, comedy, whatever, it's evolved and it's always changed, but what people always want to see is something authentic in any one of those things, and those are the things that always ring true. I always feel like
they can relate. You got to get across the board to something they can relate. So you think of the masses, not the obsolete or the obscure. So the masses are the ones that's the base you're focused towards. So.
Absolutely. Now you just brought up the Funky Geezer in this incarnation, and that's pretty much where I've seen you, and I've seen you at the evening news open mics. You've been a feature act, and when they announce your name, especially Eric, who runs that open mic, he says your name with such excitement and love, and there's a feeling in the crowd like, oh, Funky Geezer. Like whether they know you, and the people that do know you are very excited, and the people that don't know, like, what's this about?
Yeah, I usually have a surprise up my sleeve. It's never the same cut and dried stuff, but I try and surprise somebody, bring an element of interest to it, and be some little snafu at the end that'll jump back and bite you. Just when I get predictable, I'll go the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my songs are juxtaposed, or I'll sneak up on them and start off with one blues song called Happy Blues.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a miserable blues player, but he's tired of playing the blues, so he wants to play happy blues. So you turn your hat sideways and say, are y'all ready to be happy? I'm tired of playing the blues. So you switch and go to rockabilly and upbeat, and you shift gears right in the middle of the song.
Uh-huh.
And if you catch them off guard like that, they just up on their feet and they love it.
Oh yeah, I've seen you do it. I've seen you.
Don't be predictable.
Exactly. I'm trying to remember exactly like the first time I saw you. I think you were doing some blues thing, and then you like shifted into Dr. Dre. Am I making this up? Like I've seen you shift into like 90s rap out of nowhere, or some line out of nowhere like that. Like you've just seen you just transmorph into a completely different genre.
I don't even know where it comes from. Sometimes it's just whatever happens, let it flow. And Eric works with me. We'll play off of each other sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Got a little gag going on or something.
Absolutely.
Break a guitar, and I'll ask somebody have a guitar in the audience, and they're out there holding my guitar, and they run up the stage and bring it to me. Oh, thank you. You had my name put on it. It's already put on it.
Well, why? You obviously understood showmanship. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think it's just from boredom. At my age, you've seen a lot, and you get tired. You go to every band, every show, you see the same old thing. Guitar players playing and banging on guitars. That's boring.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a show. If you're listening for a show, fine, they play great music, but where's the show within the show?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to add a little showmanship to the show, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So if something's weird going, like when I was doing a show at the Visualite one night, opening for the legendary Danny Barnes, the banjo player. Well, I come out dressed like the janitor. I had a janitor's outfit on, a broom, and I was out there sweeping the stage as he was setting up.
Uh-huh.
Had my back to the audience. Nobody knew who I was, and I had my Stratocaster standing up, says Funky Geezer on it, in a rack, but I took the bolts out of the neck. So if you just touch it, it'll fall apart. It was standing there, so I was like the old bumbling idiot on stage, the janitor cleaning up, and I bumped the guitar, and it falls apart. And there's 600 people out there watching, and they're, oh, he broke the guitar. And I was doing, and I pulled it back up here and grabbed some duct tape, and I duct taped the neck back on and told him to be quiet, and I stuck it back in there. Went over there sweeping and bothering Danny Barnes. He didn't know who the hell I was.
Uh-huh.
I was just trying to entertain him a little bit while he was setting up, so you don't have downtime in between band setups. And somebody played it back, and they said, I was out there, I was laughing my ass off. It was sort of like a Buster Keaton. I love silent comedy. I love to do stuff, whether they get it or not. If it goes right by them, I'm still going to sneak some little something out there just to see if they are paying attention, some kind of little silent gag. So.
Yeah, like when you brought up comedy, like what were some little comedy guys you like? You said Buster Keaton and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's one of my comic heroes. I love his stuff.
Yeah.
So, silent comedy is really good.
Mm-hmm.
They show you how to entertain people without saying a word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always appreciated Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkins.
Absolutely.
Like he was my favorite growing up.
I loved Benny Hill.
Yeah.
He was
Mm-hmm.
true soldier of the craft.
Well, I mean, over the years, like you've, obviously being a lover of entertainment, music and comedy and all these other things, like what's some of the coolest shows you've ever seen in person, or coolest acts you've ever like either opened up for or just been in the presence of?
Oh, wow. I've been in a bunch of them. Actually, last year, Tom Green, he came to Charlotte and asked for me to open for his show at the Comedy Zone. Wow, far out.
How does that happen? You knew somebody, or is he aware of you?
He was going to play at the Comedy Zone. He said, bring some interesting people, and I guess they suggested.
Well, obviously.
I've been over there at Comedy Zone quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and did some research on him and found out he did Cajun rap and all this kind of weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I sort of started off with that night. So I was doing hick hop as a country hick,
Mm-hmm.
and he was doing Cajun rap, and we were freaking the audience out with shit like this.
But also too, like, you know, anybody in particular, like a band like you may have saw or
I used to love Kansas. I actually played with Jimi Hendrix in Germany in '69.
Get out. Tell me about this.
The Hendrix Factor, yeah. Well, I loved his music so much, I was playing it as psychedelics. And I was in the Army, and he was coming to Germany, so we begged our officers if we could go to his show, and they let us take a train up there and took my guitar. And it was an outside event. I was about 12 rows back in the rain,
Mm-hmm.
playing Hey Joe right with him at the same time. He never knew I was there.
Yeah.
But I was playing with him live on my guitar. I've still got that guitar, too. It's but it was...
yeah, you did play with Jimmy. So.
Absolutely, I used to take a Rolling Stones CD and use it for a pick. So I was playing with the Rolling Stones then,
You got me there. But,
What
like,
you gotta do.
yeah, exactly. If you want to have that story, you gotta do it.
I was there. 3 months later, he was dead, so I got to see one of his last shows. Wanted to go to Woodstock, but I was in basic training then. So, and I did get to meet Johnny Winters, who played at Woodstock here in Charlotte, and so I got to shoot the breeze with him out in his RV there for a little while one day, and he was his brother was my blues, hero, but his brother on the keyboards, he was my keyboard hero, and that's how I modeled myself to play that kind of super fast synthesizer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was after Edgar Winters, and
Yeah.
but there's so many along the way, it's hard to pick them out. You have different facets to your Stone, and you want to play folk or ballads, and then you want to play EDM, and then you want to go rock and roll, or get this crazy urge to do rockabilly too. So, and then dance music. So, I got a lot of different facets I like to mess with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Like, well, what do you think stems from that curiosity? Like,
I wanted to learn all the genres that I could, and well, I was writing songs about anything, inanimate objects. When you write commercials, and it's you might do a song about a wastewater plant or a doctor's medical laser, so you can't put passion into that. So you feel like you're selling your soul, but you do learn to write about anything.
because it's your job.
Yeah, it's your job, and you can focus in, and even though they want a 30-second song, you learn to do little bites and get an idea down quick, streamline it, cut out the BS, get every word that belongs in there, no filler. And so you learn to streamline your work and hit your point quick.
Yeah. Well, you brought up that commercial stuff. Like what was that like?
That was mainly radio stations and companies that wanted a little jingle. In fact, this soapbox thing with WCCB here in Charlotte TV, I wrote their jingle for them last year.
So you still do that type of work?
And did the Larry J. Mitsubishi commercial. I wrote them one. You see it on Saturday mornings occasionally. So, still selling my soul. I apologize in advance.
You're servicing your corporate master. Keeping the machine running.
I'm a Malamachacha. I'm full of Diablo.
But, like I said, it's lucrative,
Well, you got to do something, and it's fun, too, to tap into those bases, and they embrace you, and you might get to do some other kind of fun with them. You never know. So,
well, like I said, it keeps you technically proficient.
well, cruise carts did the same thing. They started this cruise carts thing here in Charlotte. It's free golf cart rides around these venues for people, so in case they're drunk or whatever. So I wrote their jingle for them. Well, they had a grand opening party, probably a couple of hundred people there. And so I go to their grand opening, everybody's in there singing the jingle I wrote as I walk in, and sounds like your children. I said, "Oh my God!" So that felt really good.
Mm-hmm.
So their staff and everybody were there, and
Mm-hmm.
so it hits its own base. You devote a little time and put some work into something, it comes back many times.
Mm.
So
Well, you just mentioned children. You have kids?
got one daughter. She's probably older than me now. She's a fuddy-duddy, and I try to stay young.
Yeah, it's weird how sometimes that works that way. Like kids will just go opposite directions of their parents, so they'll end up just like them.
Oh yeah, she's a good kid, but no, that was all, and had other seeds to sow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You
A lot of artwork. I was in graphics most of my life, and professionally. And, music was always sort of in the background until I retired, and I said, "Well, I want to wake up to music, fun again."
Well, you talk about graphics and stuff like that. What type of graphical work?
I did a little bit of everything. I wanted to learn it all, so I started out with sign painting, and then I was already doing portraits and pinstriping, autographics. Did a lot of stuff for NASCAR for many years. The letters on the cars and the trucks and the banners and signs. And then I did murals. Did murals in Germany for the Army, and I was the official Army sign painter across Europe. They had me painting a lot of signs. So it was pretty good duty. And so it was a normal thing to do lots of design. Now I'm doing these sort of oil paintings and I always kind of embraced new media.
Yeah, have you jumped in on the digital aspect of graphics?
I did that for many years, and on Bryce 3D landscaping program. That's a fun program. Dove into it for many years. Did thousands of those, and DAZ and Photoshop. I used to teach Photoshop.
Oh, really?
A lot of people. So I can give them a tutelage they will not forget.
I'm trying to teach myself right now, and it's pretty exciting.
It is. Yeah, I just totally embraced it, and it's like when I started driving, I was going for it. Same way with Photoshop. I dove in, and 3 years later, I come out and went, that's what I wanted to do all these years with Photoshop.
Oh, yeah, because I just saw, I was just going through your Facebook, just kind of get a sense of that's kind of what I do when I talk to these people. And I noticed you superimpose your picture on a really buff guy or a guy getting eaten by his escalator.
You can put your head on anybody's body,
Yeah, but there's a lot of people like yourself that aren't doing just funny stuff like that to make people laugh on Facebook. Where's that?
I don't know. They're trying to get too serious. I don't allow too much serious ranting and politics and religion on my wall.
Yeah, usually someone like you is going
place,
shaking their fist that
not going to do it. Not going to go there. There's plenty of time to rant and bitch and complain about lots of stuff on the other people's wall. But no, I just want to see a joke or something interesting, a new invention, artwork, music, promote other music, or a humanitarian cause, and that's about it. So,
you're a good soul. Where's that come from? Is that
you
from your
could
parents?
be bitter. There's a lot of water under the bridge, a lot of negative years, and I don't want to be that old bitter, senile, old sinister geezer. So I just, it goes into the negative zone, and you're not productive when you're negative. So do something every day. You'll remember the rest of your life. So I don't want to remember old negative stuff. Plenty of that. The news makes its money off negative news. You don't see, they have one little happy story at the end where Fluffy does a trick or something as a comic relief. But, the news, I try not to watch it because it's depressing.
Well, where'd you learn that as far as it's better to be positive? That's a lesson that I'm starting to learn right now at 33 years old.
Okay.
That's something
at least
that
you made it past 27.
Well, when did you learn that? When did that?
I don't know. Well, I went into a depression after I got out of the Army. I went into the drugs, and then the death of my mother, I got really depressed and some bad trips on acid and stuff. And so I said, no more. Clean my plow. And I moved to the mountains for 5 years just to sort of find my head and find yourself and embrace nature. And as I did, I started writing all those songs that I'm still playing today. And I did away with society. I wouldn't even hardly talk for months at a time. I was a hermit. And as a sabbatical, I just hiked all over Appalachia, embracing nature and writing songs. And come back, I was a changed person. I wrote myself a code of ethics. I got rid of other people's demons that were put in my head as a youth.
What are your code of ethics? You said you wrote it.
Well, it's you'll know as they come up.
Okay.
Like, for instance, somebody gives you a gift. Well, that's good luck. Well, I can't ever make profit or sell that. That would bring me bad karma. I can pass it on and give it to somebody else. It's just sort of one of the little rules of your own ethics, things like that. Treating people fair and across the board, just doing the right thing. That's one rule you got to learn. And you know what the right thing to do is, if you're truly honest with yourself. So you don't have to have a giant rule book. Is this the right thing to do? Yep, I'll do this. So you got to sleep with yourself at night.
But no, you talk about just, being good, because a lot of people don't exercise that a lot these days. It seems like, just that thought process. But like, taking that personal inventory,
Well, you make a lot of decisions as an adolescent and a youth and a child with an adolescent brain. It's not rational. So I had to go back through all those decisions I'd made and rethink them with an adult mind, with reason and rationalization. So that sort of rearranged everything in there. So I couldn't believe a lot of the things that people had told me. So I had to trust your own self then.
Seek out knowledge and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's something that I've tried to do a little bit now too.
My lotus flower on the mountain that Batman had to go in the dark Batman years, had to go up there and find that little blue lotus flower. Okay, I found it, grasshopper. Achieved nirvana.
Well, what were some things that were revelations to you, like things that you read or things that you saw during that 5 years?
Well, I kept thinking, if I'm having psychological issues or I'm going crazy, usually people can't handle going crazy. Most people can't take the pressure.
Or the responsibility.
But it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it frees your spirit. If you look at any kid, they're crazy as hell. They haven't been taught to be strict and be in line. And you go up to a person that is crazy, or they have them in asylums, and they've got them so doped up. And a friend of mine's brother was like that. He just didn't know what to do because everybody told him what to do. And they said, okay, Earl, act normal. So he would sit there like this. He was like a piece of cardboard. Normal to him was like nothing.
Yeah.
That's not normal. Look at a kid. That's normal. They're freaking crazy.
Yeah.
So I'll go that route. I'll go with what the adolescents, that's the one thing you want to bring, is bring your kid with you. So.
Absolutely. But, part of the thing that I did when I started this podcast about a year ago, so I wanted to sit down with people in the Southeast, because geographic is the niche thing about it, but I wanted to talk to successful people, because I'm going through a situation of, I just ended my pro wrestling career I'm at towards the end of it, and I'm trying to figure out, was I a success or not?
What was your career?
Independent pro wrestler.
Independent pro wrestler.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Much like Ric Flair.
Got some guns. Check them guns.
And the idea of thinking about, I obviously didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve goal-wise or get what I wanted out of it, so I'm trying to debate with the fact of whether or not I was successful. And I think mentally and psychologically, what I've done is I've sat down and talked with people on this podcast that are hugely successful, or people who are seen as successful, or people who feel like they're successful. So the idea of success is something I've tried to explore on this thing. And for someone like you, so I'm very excited to sit down with you. What is, how do you define success? Or or is it something you seek, or how do you deal with that struggle?
Well, I'd say just unfurl or unfold the things you can do, your talents, your writings, your music, your art, whatever you can do, and your creative juices, things that you like to do, and encourage other people to create and be creative. When you do, it turns off the negative stuff, because you can't create if you're worried or bantering about something in your head that's dark and rehearsing your next argument with somebody. To heck with that. So get it out of your head. Once you're doing art or music and flowing, well, you feel great. and you're in the moment. And after my mother had passed away, the day we were burying her, I was in the suit to go to the funeral. Mm-hmm. And didn't know what I would do, and I was very young, like 22 years old. And I was just sort of wandering around the yard waiting for people to come, and I'd never experienced that type of emotion. Mm-hmm. And Dad comes up to me, and he saw what was going on unsaid. Hands me a bucket of green paint and a brush and an old rusty fan. He said, "Clean up the fan." "What?" "I'll get my suit dirty and clean up the fan." "Okay, paint it." And so I go out there and rub the rust off the fan, and I'm painting and painting. Don't understand why he's making me do this, but later I understood he was trying to get it off my mind. So what you got to do is keep your mind busy, your hands are busy. It keeps your negative off your mind. Well, I wrote a song one time, said it helps me get me off my mind. Mm-hmm. So stay busy. You don't have to worry about your troubles. They'll just sort of float away. So, and if wrestling wasn't your facet, which is going to be a short-lived facet anyway, because you're probably going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. I would go on and try and do something that sparks the creative juices in you forever. Think of planning to do something when you're 75 and still enjoying your life. Mm-hmm. And you could probably do podcasts or shows or music or art all the way till you croak. But football players and sports people, they don't get to go past 35 much. Mm-hmm. So,
absolutely, that's probably why
35 years to fill.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably why I'm doing 4 things now.
Somebody said, "Don't blossom too fast, or your fruit will rot." Mm. So think of the next blossom next fruit you want to come out on your tree. So,
well, I mean, it's the type of advice that I'm looking for on this program and stuff like that. But like, you seem like to me as a person that when you lay your head down at night, you're very happy with what you did. Maybe not like I'm not saying I had the best day ever, but you're like, I tried to have the best day ever.
Well, you can. Yeah, that's it. You try not to waste a day. I try and do some art or write music or do something creative every day. Mm-hmm. But I feel bad if I don't create something that day. So
it's creating is what the thing that keeps you
just doing something. Even if, people suffering from manic depression or super depressions, do something every day. Just go clean up your room, wash the dishes, go cut the grass, because you've got some sort of benchmark that said you achieved something that day instead of wasting away, feeling sorry for yourself. So, and I tell them if they get too depressed, I say the emotional prisons lock from the inside. Mm-hmm. But let yourself out.
Absolutely. But is there anything else? Like, you've obviously lived a very full life and done some things that you've wanted to do and live life on your terms. Is there anything that you can instill upon, youths out there that, want to do that or have that type of feeling about their life? Any piece of advice that you haven't already given already on here?
I don't know. Well, I tell people, inspire until you expire. So if you're inspiring others, young or old. So I go to a dance, even a crazy show the other night at the Chop Shop, the Assassin's Ball or whatever it was for Halloween. I made my way on my walker all the way to the front of that huge crowd. Then I start dancing on the walker and break dancing and spinning in the floor and doing crazy shit. And the crowd goes berserk. And all the wallflowers see that even an old geezer can get up there and have fun and dance like nobody's watching. So here they come. So it's my job to ignite them, show them how to be young. Mm-hmm. So I'd say just enjoy your life, find out what you do like. A lot of people don't know what they like. So go out and find out what you like. Spend some time with yourself. People sometimes can't get away from other people. They got to be talking or yakking or TV in the background. Clear the clutter. Go up to the mountains. Get in between the mountains so it'll even block out the radio microwaves. You'll see what some real quiet is if you get up in the mountains and you say, wow, that's the noisiest quiet I've ever heard in my life.
Sometimes it's almost
deafening.
Yeah, deafening and claustrophobic and tight in a sense.
But if you sit there and listen, you can catch the whole mood of the valley. But you got to count the sounds. And that's how you fall asleep at night. can't turn your inner voice out, and it's just chat, 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 chat. I got to do this tomorrow. Oh, I did that yet. Best way to shut it down is just take a few deep breaths and start counting the sounds you hear. And don't let the words come in. Block them out. And then hum. And if you hum or chant, the words can't come in. They're blocked. Mm-hmm. And so you can be asleep in a minute.
Yeah,
sleep anytime.
That's definitely a skill that I've tried to teach myself recently, because a long time that I would be chemically dependent on trying to fall asleep.
No, I never would do that.
Yeah, I did for quite some time. I felt like I couldn't fall asleep unless I had to be completely drunk.
You mess up your inner clock if you do that.
Yep, yeah. And that's exactly what I did. And it wasn't until like I just got and then of course if I didn't do that, my brain would be running on like an idle for however long, and then I wouldn't be able to fall asleep.
And then your dreams, they're not good.
Yeah.
They get very erratic and emotional and extremely dynamic. You're still taking that roller coaster ride to sleep with you. So if you can't remember your dreams or just barely remember them, then you're in the right zone. Because they shouldn't be so shocking that they traumatize you at night.
Yeah, exactly. and luckily now that I've cleaned myself up a lot more, I'm sleeping a lot better, but also realize that sometimes I have to sit there and go, what you're thinking about right now, you can't do anything about. You're in a bed. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, rest easy. Everything's better after next day, after a good night's sleep anyway. So,
absolutely.
Not good to take anger to bed with you. So,
you've obviously you've taken that advice because you've had a lot of restful nights, I'm sure.
Well, I've had it. Beat myself up before and say, get over it.
Yeah.
Not that important.
Exactly.
100 years from now, everybody be dead.
Absolutely. Well, anyways, Woody, I don't want to keep you too long. You've imparted on so much advice, but
thank you so
where
much.
Can people get in contact with you, know more about you, book you on a show, or find out more about the wonderful things that you're doing in life?
Well, as a lot of people know, I try and help the homeless, and I wanted to bring that into that little bubble of celebrity after I went up to America's Got Talent last year. My Facebook page exploded, and all these people in it was PBS, Disney Channel, CBS, ABC, NBC. Everybody wanted a little piece of you because you're on a national level. And so I said, okay, well, here's a big vapor bubble, which will dissipate just like that. So I said, help the homeless.
It's weird that you thought about helping other people in that moment where
that's an ego trip.
How can I get my next step of the career so I can get more fame, so I can maybe help more people or not?
I'm not in it for the career. I'm done with careers.
Yeah.
But we're playing this little fame game. I might as well bring something in humanity in there because old lady Karma loves that. Yeah. So I say, okay, help the homeless. Don't look at me. That's just an ego trip. Fame and celebrity is an ego trip. At its best or at its least, that's all it can do is maybe feed the machine of where you can make more money, more fans, more products, endorsement. Whoop-de-doo, I'm not into that. So I'd say bring your humanitarian cause with you. Just when you think you're at your highest peak, post it. So this is what we want to help right here.
Well, how can people that are listening to this help?
Well, there's homeless in everybody's community. If you know where the homeless are in your area, help them or help the communities. The support groups that do support them, the missions and the shelters, but or whatever cause you have. It might be cystic fibrosis or cancer or whatever. Pick you a cause, and that's your baby, and nurture that as best you can. And But if they want to contact me, I'm on YouTube as Funky Geezer. You can find I had over 1 million hits last year and a bunch of stuff. A lot of that's fun and experimental stuff. And I'm Funky Geezer on YouTube and Funky Geezer Art, if you want just the art, on Facebook. And if you want the personal page, Woody Williams on Facebook. And there's Funky Geezer on Reverb Nation, SoundCloud, and alonetone.com, and a lot of the EPK or the electronic package out there. If you want to get up in the cloud, there's a bunch of that too. So all the music is free downloads, and have fun with it. That's what it's made for.
Well, Woody, I can't thank you enough for sitting down and talking to me, and appreciate everything. And I'll be looking for you out and about.
Oh, yeah.
So
here we go again. Remember, inspire till you expire.